Hello and welcome to Gag of the Millennial.
A show where we talk about pop culture,
Current events.
and spill the hot Darjeeling right into your lap.
Ooh, Scoldy Woldy.
Yes.
That
was an interesting one, wasn't
we
it?
just didn't talk normally. We're like, before we intro, we're like, you do it this time and I'll do it next time.
Yeah, we just do it at the same time and then stop. The perfect idea for a show.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gag of the Millennial.
Hello.
Welcome, Luxeria.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, it's that.
So, I started this year's video collection with Luxeria.
Ooh.
So it only
you?
feels right to end it with Luxeria.
Did we?
We
Did
did.
this happen?
We did
What
a
did we
cursed
do?
images. That was
Oh,
cursed
God.
images that are so cursed they already ruined 2022.
Well, little did she know.
Little did she know.
No.
But, so I thought it would be perfect
Yes,
to
that
end
is
the year with
aren't
the
you
gorgeous
sweet,
Luxeria. So, we wanted to do a episode today where we actually talk about current events and pop culture.
Yeah, which is something we never do.
No, we don't.
Never ever do all that.
We
Even
always-
though this is what our podcast is.
We
like
always
current events.
we
pop
literally
culture.
joke
No,
all the
never.
time about how that is our intro, but we don't really talk about it.
And then we talk about things from the Victorian bit.
Yeah, we do. We're like, oh, what happened in 1861?
Very current events.
We want to do like a strange kind of chat roundup of the year of all the insanity that happened this year. We want to discuss some of the things that have gone on recently, obviously in pop culture, in media, and in our lives. I think we should start from the very top.
Yes.
And do one of the probably the most talked about stuff that's happened recently.
Okay.
And that is the fact of Elon Musk taking over Twitter and just the downfall of that social media.
The tweet machine.
It has been the most insane thing to actually be able to witness a huge platform go completely insane in real time.
Yeah. The last time we saw something like this on this sort of scale was with MySpace, but even then it wasn't like... So MySpace's format was completely different. It wasn't like you're literally seeing people's thoughts as everything is going down. It was kind of like just like a fail. It is kind of strange to watch this guy that was supposed to be like this leftist person who like electric cars, save the planet, blah, blah, has bought Twitter and then decided to just become like a right-wing mouthpiece for every conspiracy theory there seems to be.
It's so weird. It's like his brain's been rotted or something.
There's like several things that I want to discuss that might be happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Let's all put our thought hats
Ooh,
on.
tinfoil hats on for him.
Yes. Either he legitimately is an absolute insane person and it goes back to the root of like, there is no such thing as a good billionaire. They're all technically in it for themselves.
Well,
they
I feel like
exploit the working class, blah, blah, blah.
To become a millionaire, you have to do some unethical things anyway.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like being born into a diamond mining family or an emerald mining family. Or he is doing a grift to try and like appeal to the right-wing base or like, I don't know, the conspiracy theory bit. I don't really know what to call them, but like that sort of, I don't know, section of society. If he's trying to be like, and because I've got you on my side, now I'm going to release the special America Patriot electric car. Please buy it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
know.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't really know that much about Elon Musk before he took over Twitter. It was always like, he was just like, I saw him as like, the car spaceman. Yeah. And that's all I really knew about him. I didn't like, I don't keep up with like all that kind of money people. I don't care. But I never really realized that much about him until he joined Twitter. And then it was like this adult baby. That's the only way I can really like...
Adult baby. Where's that come from?
The way that he acts on the internet is it's like a child who is so stubborn and so like... bratty that he just throws his toys out the pram because people don't want to like talk to him. And like when he went to that comedy stand-up show and got booed by like the entire
and he was
audience.
like, it was like 90% cheers and 10% boos.
But like we've seen the videos.
But also like why are you fixating on like the percentages of boos?
It's so strange.
If you're it's like a bratty child is like, well, actually everyone said boo and some said yes, blah, blah, in like a classroom or something. It's like, why are you focusing on that? You should be focusing on the fact that you were hearing boos from people. So wake up, sis. What are you doing?
There was a lot of the memes of Mr. Burns going, is it boo or boo earns? I was saying boo earns. He's now, posting things like, oh, my pronouns are blah, blah, and being like transphobic.
Whilst he has a child called like,
yeah, this is the thing. Like, for someone to say that pronouns are convoluted and you force your pronouns on people, it's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But like, you've named your child database. Like, like a computer chip. I don't know how you would even for someone to be like it's confusing, but then you literally name a child like hashtag and equal sign. But he has this weird complex about him like he's so desperate to be liked by the population.
It's weird,
but it's like making people dislike him more because as well, most CEOs
no
of
one likes desperation.
Yeah, exactly. Like most CEOs of companies kind of keep themselves when it comes to public
displays of nonsense.
Yes, and because Twitter is so public. The way that he's acting, like most people, even like people who had been on his side normally, have even they are like, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I'm not like gonna invest.
Well, because his stocks are falling, and his investors are like trying to move away from him because he's such a liability. He's so volatile.
The whole thing about the verification
oh my goodness
has been so I've been verified since 2016 or something. The idea that he was like, wait, now you can pay for being verified. But
yeah, that's weird.
You're going to get the same tick as everyone else, but we're just going to put like a little official logo underneath the people who were actually verified before this, but then took that away, and then imitation just kind of went everywhere. There was that company, who lost like billions in like
the
stocks.
Insulin company. Because they were like, insulin's now free, and all the investors were like,
die.
Yeah.
But then they were coming back, it was the whole thing about when the company was like, sorry, this was a mistake. It was like, yes, sorry that we're not going to give you life-saving treatment for free, and you now have to pay and you're going to die.
Literally.
But like so many companies were like, had their companies ripped off by scammers and imitation because of this new verification. And then he was like, oh no, we're actually going to take away the blue, but now we're going to ban everyone who tries to imitate you. But then you get like, now you get a gold tick if you're a business, but you also get a square photo, but you can still also buy a tick. And the people who were like...
But do you remember when he was even brought in, like, buy a tick, he was like, what's it going to cost? Like, $20 a month?
Ridiculous.
And then someone was like, $20, I can't do that. And he was like, what about 8?
Yes.
Like, this isn't a barter for my verification, barter for my security.
And that's the thing as well, like, so many of the things, the change that have happened, it's been, like, done through polls and stuff. I'm like, this is not how you run a business.
Yeah.
Like, doing polls on Twitter.
If you were to run a business by how your, like, free user base uses you, you would have... your business would just be chaos. Yeah. Well, I suppose we're watching it right now, really, I guess, aren't we?
Well, we are.
Chaos.
The thing is, as well, it was like, we know from the very beginning that he tried to pull out of buying it. Because there was something like, oh shit, there was more bots. But obviously, because it went too far, Twitter was going to sue him then because he had already gone too far on the
If you've already signed, like, I'm going to buy your product for this much money, and then you're like,
actually, no, I'm too scared now.
Remorse,
this whole thing for the past few months and just watching Twitter just could turn into like a chaos of just insanity has been exciting to witness in a weird way, but also like I like Twitter, even though it is a cesspit of hate a lot of the time. I do quite like Twitter, and it is a helpful tool to like promote. But there was a whole thing about him recently being like, if you promote any other channel, you're gonna get banned.
Yeah, so it's like, well, that's a fast way to make sure that that no one ever uses your platform ever again.
I don't understand why there are so many like Elon Musk simps who are like licking his hole.
Oh, it's weird, isn't it?
He's a genius. This is the best thing ever to happen to Twitter. It's like, he's not going to give you his money. You can stop licking his hole. Like, the thing is as well, like seeing his other stocks tank as well because of it, it's like humans have kind of witnessed the kind of person he is. And it's like he doesn't realize that affects everything else he does as well. It's not like people aren't looking at Twitter and going like, they'll only judge me for what I do right here and now. Yeah. It's like, no, that also affects everything else you do and own.
Absolutely.
You made a point to me, it was like a few days ago, and you said about there's this sort of like rich man syndrome where other people think if they associate with them, they're now going to be rich.
Yes, it's called temporary embarrassed millionaires. Yes. And it's like, well, I'm working really hard and I'm a working class white man, so I will be a millionaire if I just keep going this way and licking this man's booty hole for money.
It's so strange.
And because it's like, no, that's not going to happen.
I do kind of feel like that way a little bit with all the turfy stuff from J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
It's like they think that they can hang out with J.K. Rowling now and they're all going to become millionaires and she's going to give her wealth to them.
Yeah.
Like,
It's culty.
Yes, exactly. It's very strange. I just thought we'd have a little mention about the insanity of Twitter.
Yeah, because it is quite... It's like, what will happen if one day we wake up and Twitter is just like removed from the App Store? And we're like, wow, okay, well that's gone completely.
I'm pretty sure Apple already threatened this.
Yeah, they did. I don't know how big the global, like... market share of Apple is, but if it becomes like an Android only app, like
it'll die. It will die, right?
Yeah,
it's been an exciting thing to witness, but also like, oh god, please don't kill a platform that I have a good following on.
Yeah, well, exactly that, isn't it? Isn't it exactly that? But what will replace it? Where will people go if their microcosm of sneezes on the internet?
I don't know. I mean, Twitter itself has become like a little bit of a the new boomer platform. Whenever you think of like dogpiling on people now, I think of Twitter.
Yeah.
Like
it used to be Facebook, and now I think of Twitter.
It's kind of going on to Twitter. Facebook has kind of become a little bit of a vacuum now, and it's kind of just like I don't know many people our age and younger who actually use it anymore, but I still know our people and younger who use Twitter. So, but Twitter's slowly becoming the new...
I actually find that if I open up Twitter and spend too much time on it, my mental health is like drained for that day because I'm never that far away from like a turfy tweet, and then it's like... Then it's literally like a rabbit hole of like, wow, these are the worst people that I've ever encountered, and all they think about is trans people.
Yeah, obsessed. Utterly obsessed. Talking about trans people...
Oh, let's not.
We should mention quickly though, the GRC.
The GRC
in Scotland.
I don't know the full ins and outs, but it means that isn't it like yes to self-ID?
Yes, so
it makes it a lot easier for trans people to access healthcare and also access or just basically change documentation.
Yes, I think they said it's like it takes 3 months now.
Yes.
Is that right? Because before it was like what, 2 years?
So something like that. I don't necessarily know how Scotland changes from England, but I know that, for example, if I want a GRC, I have to show like every shred of evidence of my entire transition for like 12 years.
Yes.
As opposed to just being like, well, look at this single piece of documentation from my doctor that says, yes, she's trans.
Yes, exactly.
Like that would be so much easier.
Well,
this is less gatekeeping.
This was always the whole insanity when it comes to all the TERFs, because they genuinely believed you could literally like one day go, I'm a woman now, and everything suddenly changes.
Well, but like
you get hormones within a day.
But like, have you ever been asked for a certificate every time you use a public bathroom or something? Like, are they going to be like, excuse me, lady, do you have your passports to use?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, well, never.
Even when they announced that the bill had passed, and it passed with a good number as well.
Yeah, this is it.
It wasn't like a close 50-50.
It was like a Brexit
70
thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a 75-25 thing. So no one can say that it was like, oh, it wasn't
It
fair
was luck because our people weren't there.
Exactly. So like there was a good number of people, but obviously the stupid thing about it was that woman who was standing in the audience and then flashed him in.
Yeah, disgusting.
If you're going to be indecent, so will I. It's like, who here is being indecent?
No one is being indecent.
But you know full well, if a trans person did that, they would have gone insane.
Oh,
like,
they would have
they're predators. They're doing it. But it's okay for you to suddenly flash just because you're a biological woman, and now that means you're protecting women by flashing people, especially when there was children there as well. But I'm glad that at least
there's some progress happening somewhere.
Within the cesspit of hate that has happened this year towards trans people, there has been progress.
Yeah, it shows me that actually a lot of the turfy nonsense that I come across is actually just like a really loud minority.
Yes.
It's like they seem a lot more like prevalent in day-to-day life because online they're so noisy.
Yes.
But actually in real life, they're not that bad. It's like, okay, well, we're actually making progress. You're on the wrong side of history, and eventually you'll be forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, like, Rishi Sunak is a bit transphobic, who's our prime minister.
Oh, but he's phobic against everyone as well. Like this thing recently that I told you about yesterday when he was helping out at that homeless shelter, and a homeless man comes up to him and he feeds him and he goes, so do you work in business? And the man responds with, I'm a homeless man. I'm homeless.
That's insane.
And Rishi's like, okay.
Rishi is one of the... I have to say, he's definitely one of the most out-of-touch politicians I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like watching, like, I don't know, an alien try and inhabit a human skin and be like, this is what people expect, but they've only been taught by, like, other aliens.
It's very my parents are aliens.
It's very my parents
My politicians are aliens.
Yeah, my politicians.
Tinfoil hat girl.
Oh, God. Quick, tell Elon Musk.
He lives on the moon. But no, it's true, though. Richie Sunak is very strange. But
very strange.
This year, we have, 3 prime ministers?
We've had 3, yeah. And every single one has been, like, embroiled in scandal.
It's been... I really hope that people don't forget this in 2 years' time when we have another election.
Oh, well, of course they will do, because people only remember... Well, it's the same thing with the Queen and the marmalade sandwiches, isn't it? They've only got a memory of 4 months, because that's the last time they saw her on the screens. They're like, marmalade sandwiches.
Yeah, she loved
She loved marmalade sandwiches. Okay, can you name anything else she did in her 70-year reign? Marmalade sandwiches. Yeah, Paddington. Like the Great British Grim Reaper.
Yeah, she Paddington is the Great British Grim Reaper. But like, that's the thing. She did one cameo.
Yeah, one cameo, and it was like 12 seconds.
And all of a sudden,
marmalade.
She must love the marmalade.
She loved marmalade.
I cannot believe
she died doing what she loved. Marmalade.
I cannot believe after she died the bonkersness of people and literally just leaving sandwiches on the floor
to rot
at Buckingham Palace. Like what? Why?
What purpose did that serve? Why did you make a marmalade sandwich that morning, go to Buckingham Palace, and then just be like, put it on the floor?
You could have, like, this is the thing. And the thing is as well, is it's always these people who shout about, like, that money could have spent with the homeless.
Oh yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Like, why haven't you posted it to Africa?
Yeah, like why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done? And they're like, well, why haven't you done it?
It's so ridiculous.
It is.
If you're moved by a monarchy, a member of a royal family passing away, do a small donation to a charity in their name. Like, be like, oh, it's what she would have wanted. So be like, make marmalade sandwiches and leave them outside in the rain. What are you doing?
So strange. The fact that Buckingham Palace, like, they had to put a statement.
Yeah, being like, please stop bringing marmalade sandwiches.
It's like rotting on the floor. Like, it's just, leave flowers. Like, that's what normal people do.
Do you know,
like,
so actually, weirdly enough, me and my dad were in central London when all this happened. He loves Buckingham Palace, so we did like a little walk around there. And they've got like a little place, or they used to have a little place in Hyde Park where you could go and put the flowers, because with what happened with when Diana passed away, or was murdered, don't tell it, oh my God. She had loads of like flowers, and they were starting to like compost because it was just so much flower and so much like plant matter was rotting. Yes. So they were like, put it in the park. So we went over to see it, and it was like, so it was just like flowers everywhere you looked, and all like drawings from children being like, the Queen is a spider, and all sorts of incoherent nonsense. Marmalade,
Marmalade,
the Grim Reaper. We were talking about Rishi Sunak and Prime Ministers, but
Prime Minister, but wait, Prime Minister, Partygate. That happened this year.
When red wine party again. I didn't know what the party was.
It was so stupid. So if people don't know, like, you're not in the UK. God. So obviously when all the lockdowns happened in 2020, when we were not allowed to leave, blah blah blah. You all know what happened. You all know the day. So many parties in like the midst of the pandemic were happening inside Downing Street.
Yeah.
And they were like getting together, mixing where they shouldn't have been mixing. There was like Dominic Cummings having like affairs with people that he shouldn't be mixing with.
Yeah.
Like there was just the Tory party just went absolutely.
It was just like an Eton like a boys' club.
Yeah, and it was just they were all like doing everything that they were telling us that we couldn't do. Yes. Mixing with people they shouldn't be mixing with, partying in public. Like it was just unhinged. And then Boris Johnson at the time, who was our Prime Minister, was like, I didn't know it was a party.
I didn't know I was socialising with more than 5 people.
Even though there's like 20 people around me with cake and wine. Do you just have cake and wine normally on your like?
Well, maybe he does. Maybe because his whole life is a party. He's like, I didn't know it was a party.
It was just, and even the photos were coming out of them like partying together.
It's like, oh my God.
No rules were broken. It was just so infuriating to see.
It was.
Because like, I didn't lose anyone to COVID. Very lucky. Like no one I knew, but I knew friends who had lost people. It was just upsetting to see these people get angry because they weren't able to like attend funerals. They weren't able to like see their loved ones before they passed away and stuff. While all the people in the Tory party who were telling us that we can't do it, and then in Downing Street, just like partying, snorting coke and drinking wine and just partying, and it's just like infuriating.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's within our rights to be like to hold this against them, because that enough should have triggered a thing to be like, well, time to dissolve this parliament because they're not doing anything decent. I do find it really shocking that for the last 4 prime ministers, like, none of the public has voted for them.
No.
That's what's really weird. It's like suddenly we've entered a monarchy system of this weird, like, the fact, if you think of like the royal family as like the Tory party, and we've got we as the public have no control who's like, we get to pick one or the other, Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak. Yeah. How did we get there?
Yeah. It was strange, wasn't it? But also like
the lettuce.
It's the lettuce that outlived she's
Truss.
dead.
What's she doing now? Where's she? She's like advertised the Bahamas. You'll never see me again.
Pork markets.
Yeah.
She was Liz Truss was something else.
She was terrible, wasn't she? 45-day turf party.
They 100% used her as a scapegoat.
Oh, 100%. All of the problems that Boris made were easily forced onto her, but I do love the fact that she crashed the entire economy. Like,
oh my God, the economy!
Her first manifesto, and her 6 days in, her and her chancellor, so bad, in fact, that the Bank of England had to step in and go,
like, we are not doing
we're
that.
Not doing that.
We're bailing you out now.
Yeah, we're not doing that because you will effectively bankrupt the entire country.
Yeah. It was
just insane.
Absolutely bonkers. Our politics in the UK this year has just been chaos.
It has been real chaos, and I don't know how we're going to come back from it, to be honest, because all these problems are still here, and they're still happening now, and just more problems are adding on to it. And in the middle of next year, we're going to start to try and attempt to pay back all the COVID loans that we took from international monetary funds. So it's like, right, so now we've got a cost of living and inflation. Fish fingers! £280!
At the moment in the UK, we have the cost of living crisis. I mean, it's because of the situation that happened with la Russie, l'Ukraine.
How do we say that the disagreement in Eastern Europe?
Yeah, we have to be very careful talking about that. So we're not going to delve on it too much because you guys know what have happened. Yeah. But YouTube are being very funny about anyone talking about this topic, so we don't want to talk too much about it. Because of all the stuff that happened, obviously all the sanctions that came in, we have had oil shortages and gas. So a lot of places around Europe, and I'm not sure if it's affecting America at all.
I genuinely don't know. They are a lot closer to Russia though, so maybe. Yeah. I mean, I imagine there's like some severe trade routes, which seems so strange because I always feel like there's this huge tension between America and Russia. Yeah. But like, if they're also trading at the same time, it must be like, give it to me! No, I want the gift certificate! Yeah. Don't do that or I'll shoot you. Like, it's very that, isn't it?
Obviously, now the UK are in like a part where like people can't heat their homes, people are like struggling for food, because of all the money, like that, the electricity prices and everything going up so high.
Did you see this morning? So this was a thing I saw on Instagram actually. It was the government have released an advert in the UK to say, take 30 seconds to make sure you're not using energy once per day. And do you know what one of the things was? Make sure you close your curtains at night. I'm sorry, they spent £18 million on an advert to tell people to close their curtains at night. The Tories are so out of touch. What do you think we do with curtains,
It was the same thing when Boris said, just buy a new toaster. Buy a new
sell
kettle.
Your pearls.
Why don't you, if you're struggling for electricity, just buy a new kettle that heats the water faster? As if like people, like, it's like they don't understand what actual poverty is, where people cannot afford a new kettle. Yeah. Like, it's not about, they just have £100 to dispose of, they can do what they want. Like, no, they don't have like even like £10 to do that. Like everything they earn goes on living.
It's so infuriating because even the people who are like, I'm fiscally conservative but socially liberal or whatever, it's like, well, please stop voting Tory because you can see from these people, they're not even fiscally conservative. Saying you should spend money to save money is not fiscally conservative. Yeah. That's just stupidity. You should be improving infrastructure to allow us to actually survive in the first place.
The problem is so many of these people who are struggling, a lot of them are the ones who voted for the Tories. That's what I mean. And it's like these small towns who all voted for like Tory, like Brexit and stuff.
Really naughty.
And it's like they're struggling now because of things like that.
But it's so there's a certain caliber of person in the UK, should we say, that is so wound up about the idea of the other, whether the other is trans people, minorities, or immigrants, or whatever. They're so wound up about them that they are willing to like bash themselves over the head in order to have that person also bashed. Yeah. They're not willing to actually say, let's move forward and make a world better for all of us. They're saying, no, give me the gift certificate.
That is very true. Like,
it's hateful.
Where I'm from, my town, all of them voted Leave. There was like a proper Leave and a Tory as well.
And the most ridiculous thing is that most people from that region of the UK are farmers and have farmland and get huge subsidies from the European Union. And now they don't have that. No. So they've just signed away potentially years and years and years of income and stability. Not just like, it's not handing out free money. It's like being able to pay for things like consultancy if your land is not growing as good as you want it to, or things like there's so many little, it's not just, we take handouts from blah. It's like this, it's business. Yes. It's business to ensure that people thrive. And now you don't have that.
Something that happened at the very beginning, what we just said, was like one of the biggest things that they were talking about with Brexit was fish. We have our own fishing. Yeah. We get our own lands of fish. We're going to have more fish. And then
and then we didn't. And now fish fingers are what?
So we went shopping recently, and I don't really buy fish fingers, but like we stopped to see them. And it was like almost £10 for a box of fish fingers, which normally would have been
8 fish fingers for like £9.50. It was like, I was like, what? I had a little moment where it's like, I'm sure many people have had this sort of experience as well, where they pick up something and go, how is this much money
Exactly.
now?
It was
when we were kids in the 90s, do you think our parents would have ever spent £9.50 on 8 fish fingers?
It was so stupid.
We'd be like, we're going to the Ritz, girls, because these fish fingers for dinner tonight are so exciting. Look, I'm snotting everywhere. I'm so excited.
And that's the thing, like, fish fingers isn't considered like posh, like,
it's not a luxury item.
It was like, and it was just, I was like, I cannot believe this happened. And the whole thing they kept talking about was, we're gonna have our own fish. We have so much more fish, our own fish. Everything will be cheaper because of fish. And it's like, but fish fingers are now extortionate.
Yeah, so like all these products that use fish from our fish is like way too expensive now that like, I cannot imagine a breadline family being able to pay £9.50 for bird's eye.
Exactly.
It's essentially one meal.
Yes.
Like £9.50 for a meal that you're cooking at home is actually really high.
Yes.
Really, really high. But we also saw next to it, there were those new things that were like, what were they? They were called like fish goujons or something.
Yeah, it was
the tiniest little thing. And it was like, that's going to be mostly potato with a little bit shredded fish in it.
Yes.
And they were like, this one's £2. It's like, yes, because there's no fish in it.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope that everyone doesn't
really
forget
worrying,
in 2 years' time.
Yeah, do not
when we
forget.
have another election, that these Tory assholes do not care about you. They don't care about anyone who's not elite or white. Like, let's just not.
And it's gone, but it's beyond the point now of like, they have chosen not to care. It's that actually they're physically incapable of care. Seeing Boris Johnson be like, well, you could just buy a new kettle.
Yeah.
That should show you immediately that like, it's not that he sat down and thought, how can I make poor people like me? He's just gone, I haven't even thought about poor people because poor to me means you can still buy a kettle. You're actively voting for people who do not care if you exist.
Who do not care. Who
don't even know that you exist.
Yeah.
Not that they hate that you exist. It's sort of like a couple of steps beyond it now.
I do think some of it, we talked about the Elon Musk thing, I do think some of it also is like, well, if I vote Tory, I'm going to become rich too. And it's like, they don't realize that, no, doing that is actively hurting you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're like part of the elite who earn a crap ton of money, you're screwed.
It's 100% like part of the mainstream media is to blame in the UK as well, especially like Rupert Murdoch and his like crony friends who own like practically every mainstream thing. When Matt Hancock was discovered being, what did he do? I can't remember.
So
was he the one who was like crying about the vaccine?
Yeah, he fake cried on TV, and he's the one that like made out with that woman. And, had an affair, had like an affair. And be like, I fell in love. I wasn't breaking rules. I fell in love.
Where was the mainstream media being like, oh, this man who's actively in power, who isn't trying to get in power?
No, they just put him on TV shows. Like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Yeah, come third. And everyone's like, yay, he should be forgiven.
Yeah. Except for like, he was one of the catalysts of people, like 100,000 people dying. Like,
I generally, the more we talk about topics like this, the more I sort of like, it solidifies my belief that I just don't have much faith in the British public at large.
No.
I don't have much faith in the idea that they actually actively understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And actively, it's not a case of being like woke enough to understand, but it's like, I'm not someone who's like, vote for Keir Starmer, because I also don't like him. But it's like, but there needs to be some change somewhere, or we're all not going to survive.
Yeah. One thing I think we should probably mention as well is Britney Spears.
Oh.
And the fact that her conservatorship ended.
Yes.
But then like the insanity that like ensued afterwards, but now all the conspiracy theorists saying that she's like dead.
So there's like, something happening around her like story arc that's just getting stranger and stranger and stranger. And these people on TikTok are like fully like talking about it like as if they know as well, which is the strangest thing. But I'm glad that she got married to her husband.
Yes.
Is it engaged?
Sam. Is it called Sam?
I think so.
I think they got married. I think
they did get married, didn't they? That seems like, it genuinely seems like they're in love. But all this idea about like, she's actually dead, she's filming in her old house, this is why they only ever put old content. Also, as much as I absolutely adore Britney Spears, I do have a little bit of a question as to why she's constantly trying to get her vulva out on Instagram.
She loves it.
It's a little bit of an unusual thing. I don't know if maybe it's because she's been in a conservatorship and now she's having this moment of like, I'm free, I can do whatever I want, girls. Yeah. So immediately vulva on Instagram.
I'm sure that is part of it.
But it seems, I don't know, it just seems like a very stark difference. Because I guess we didn't really know a lot about her that didn't go through her conservatorship to the public, if you know what I mean.
Oh, so, everything was so heavily controlled by like her dad and all the other people that were like involved. It was.
When did it start, in like 2007 or 8?
Yeah, it was after she had the breakdown in 2007.
So that's like, we were kind of adults at that point, weren't we, I guess?
I was only 17.
Yeah, I would have been 19, something like that. So I guess I was kind of like almost an adult.
The thing is, I didn't really...
And I didn't pay any attention to her.
I was too young to really understand, like, especially back then, because this is all like early social media days, to understand like manipulation in media and like, in like 100%. Papers and magazines.
I don't think
stuff.
anyone knew really what it was. I feel like it was kind of like early days still.
So like when I saw that stuff happened, I was like, oh, look at that crazy woman going crazy. Like
absolutely.
I didn't, because that was kind of all that was fed to you. And obviously living in a small town, I think I was actually only 16 when it happened. Mm-hmm. I'd only just like come out of school and stuff, and I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. And like I knew Britney Spears from the 90s. Obviously, I was a fan of her like, you know, early, 90s and 2000s days. But
toxic girls.
So I didn't really know much about her as a person because I didn't follow social media and like all these like new pop culture things now, you know everything that happens in people's lives. I think sometimes people forget how different it was back in those, like, in like, the 2000s.
We literally had to go to a shop and buy a magazine to learn about these people.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. Unless it was on, like, TV, it's a big breaking story.
Yeah.
Like when she shaved her head and everyone was like, she's gone insane. It's like, actually, that's a perfectly sane reaction to being, like,
controlled as well, because like and the way that, like, now
we were never told that. No, we were at the time. No.
And like, we didn't understand the whole way that paparazzi and all that stuff really like hound people. Like later, when Diana died in the 90s, there was like, I think that they made like a new rule, at least in the UK, that you couldn't like jump in front of cars and stuff.
There was like a 6 feet rule or something.
Yeah, but I think in America though, that didn't happen. That was stopped. So like, they were getting in her face, and like, no one can truly understand what it must have been like as someone in her like 20s having to have all of that happen to her, especially with all the exploitation she had in the 90s when like she was like a child. Like doing. Like, when you actually think of Hit Me Baby One More Time, she's like 16 years old in that. Like, dressing like the way that she shouldn't be dressed. Like, the way that the media all manipulated her and stuff into doing all that kind of stuff. And she was so controlled.
It's
like,
so
you don't understand what it must have been, the pressure. Especially, like, I've seen so many interviews of her from back in the day when people asking, like, are you a virgin? And things like that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why does it matter? And also, you are literally asking this, like, young girl.
Like, it's weird. So I couldn't imagine the pressure she was under. So when she had the breakdown, back then, I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, wacky Britney Spears.
Yeah, wacky Carol.
But now as an adult looking back, like, you can really see, like, I'm not surprised that she went completely off the rails. I would have too.
Yeah, my whole channel is based around this idea of looking back and going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that was actually really damaging, and this should never have been enabled to happen from adults around that should have known better.
Yep.
So it is really shocking to look back. The weird thing about Britney Spears is I can vividly in my mind now picture all of the photos that were used when she had her like breakdown.
Yes.
I can see literally in my mind her with the razor, like shaving her head, and then in the car, and also with that umbrella when she was beating that paparazzi away from her. It must be like being chased by mosquitoes.
Well, it was like when they happily just took like an upskirt photo of her and like exposed her private.
Like, they used to aggressively try to do so, and it's like,
how is that illegal? Like, I don't get, like, how did something need to happen for that to become illegal? How was that already not just a known thing to be illegal, that you can't actively try to get upskirt shots of famous people?
That is shocking. The fact that you've just said that, and everyone was like, no, this is normal, and it's going to be on the front of every newspaper tomorrow, is shocking. It's no wonder why we look at people like Lindsay Lohan, who's just made her Christmas pussy comeback.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she had a similar sort of, it was her, Paris Hilton, and Britney Spears were like the best friend trio, and they all went through some insane, like, events in their lives. Yeah. It's wild now to look back at Lindsay and be like, oh God, no wonder why.
When she had her breakdown, I understand that she needed obviously help, and like, I think in some way, if it was done in the right way, a conservatorship would have been actually quite helpful in that really early days when she actually needed help.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the right thing didn't happen, and it became all of a sudden business. I can now take control of the money. This wasn't about helping Britney get into a nicer space and a nicer headspace and actually to get her to be healthy. All of a sudden, her dad and all the other people became money hungry and were like, oh, this means now I have control of all of her finances, and treated her like a rag doll. Like the conservatorship finally was over after like 14 years of her being controlled. I can't imagine what it must be like to not have control of your life, to the stage where like not even just like she wasn't allowed to walk down to the shop. It was almost like everything you did as a person needed to be approved. Yeah. You had zero control over even like your food you ate. Yeah. Or like I cannot imagine being like basically you're a prisoner. Yeah. I cannot imagine
that's exactly what it is.
Going through that and then finally being released. So it's hard to be like, I don't know why she's getting a pussy out all the time, but I'm like, I don't think we'll ever understand.
No,
like, we'll never truly
to be
get
honest,
that.
People, like, as much as I'm like, this is a strange behavior, I'm not also like, she shouldn't be doing this.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just like, if that's how she's coping with this big thing that happened to her. Yeah. What it highlights to me is that it's again one of these things of like, if you come out of prison, you should be getting some like adjustment therapy to help you actually like learn like how to take on the world. If you've been in prison for a long time, Like if you went to prison for 14 years and you came out and then you were just like goodbye, go on, off you go, no help, like you would never thrive. You just would never thrive because you've already moved past it's the same idea of putting a baby in the wilderness and being like, well, good luck. Like it's just not gonna work.
Yes.
So some of the things that I see Britney doing online is almost like. It almost it's not like a cry for help or something, but it's like, it's highlighting to me that there is a problem that she's still not being looked after or cared or being taught how to like what's beneficial for her in a way that's actually encouraging and not just like, do this, make money.
I do wonder if maybe there has, I mean, I actually don't think this is the case, but maybe she has had help or maybe someone's trying, but because of what's happened to her, she's so resistant to it because she's like, possibly. You're telling me what to do.
Exactly.
So maybe that is part of it. I feel like that's probably not the case, but that could potentially be something. But what I wanted to highlight is the fact that the insane things that have happened recently the Leave Britney Alone, Leave Britney movement, the Free Britney, Leave Britney, very 2007.
Leave Britney alone. So she was right all along.
She was right, yeah. The Free Britney movement obviously did wonders for her. I think it actually really helped get it out to the mainstream, and I think it's wonderful. But what I think has happened now is so many of those people put all their entire identity into doing this, and like everything they did and acted, and everything was so Free Britney, Free Britney. It became such an intrinsic part of their like personality.
It's like zealotism almost.
Yeah. And when it ended, all of a sudden it was like, now what do I do?
Bye.
And I feel like there's a portion of these people who have now gone, well, she's not actually free.
Yeah.
She's actually being controlled still by her husband, who was actually a plant all along from her father, and he's been siphoning money. And now there was a whole thing about her being sold as like a sex trafficking.
Yeah, there was.
There's like tarot card reading people on TikTok going, she's dead in the, I can see water. She's dead in the sea.
Something about
Perez Hilton.
So
someone inside told me. It's like really shocking about Britney Spears, and it's totally deranged, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Unless you buy this thing.
No, it's so... This is what you wanted. You wanted her to be free. And now, because she's not giving you what you wanted, and she's not...
But what would they have wanted? What would have made everyone go, oh, yes, very good job,
they've literally almost become the thing that they tried to destroy. And it's like, leave her the alone.
What? Should we say it again? Like, leave Britney alone.
The whole point of her being free was for her to be able to do what she wanted. And now you're like, she's not posting on Instagram anymore. She's dead. She's just trying to live her life. Leave her alone.
It is very strange, isn't it? And then apparently recently there was also this thing of like her father and her ex-husband are like collaborating, writing a memoir book about the whole experience. You put her in this conservatorship. Like, why do we want to hear your side? There's not a side of the story. We found like it was all annulled. He should be in prison.
Yeah, you should. I'm surprised how much he got away with. And like, I'm more than happy to eat my words and fully apologize if some of this shit was right and we were like, leave her alone, whatever. And actually, she really was. But I just don't believe that she's been killed and thrown in the ocean overseas, and now they're posting old things of her so they can still get money. I just don't believe it. It's too far-fetched. I believe the conservatorship stuff because it made sense and you could see actually these things happening. But you going on TikTok and watching some stupid tarot card woman going, she's dead and she's been dead in the water. Like,
she's been buried at sea.
Get a grip.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's almost, it's actually really disrespectful.
It is really like, you cannot, the fact that she's now had to like delete all of her comments on Instagram, so she can't put any comments now because it was just too, this isn't you.
So once again, what's happening? There's a level of like an exertion of control over her behavior again.
It's just, you're never going to be happy.
It's kind of strange how Britney has had this like profound effect on, I don't know, just like culture full stop.
Yeah.
Like this one blonde girl from America, I don't know where she's from in America, but she started on, what was it, the Mickey Mouse Hour or something?
She was on, Disney's
Junior,
Club. It was like Disney's Club or something like that,
Club Kids.
Disney's Club Kids of the 90s. Can you imagine? It was like massive outfits. They'd be like, hello.
Let's go down to Limelight, girls. No, but it's just wild how much of an effect like this one person's life has had on so many people.
Yeah. The things I saw on TikTok, the spiral I went down.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
It was just like, this person's a clone. There's a photo of Britney going around now, but it's not actually her. They've used a clone of her to pretend that it's not her to make it look like it's actually, but actually, and that this voice isn't actually her voice in the video, and someone else is like making a fake voice of her, so they think that she's with Sam, and it's just like,
cloning requires so much suspension of belief. Like, if you actually know the current technology of cloning, you'd be like, no,
exactly. And it's just totally bonkers. I just leave her alone.
It's frightening as well because, as it kind of goes to earlier, these people are usually old enough to vote. And they're like, my tarot card says Britney's in an urn at the bottom of the sea, girls.
Yeah.
Let me vote Tory. It's like, what are you doing? So, another thing that happened this year, which was kind of telling about how
the government don't give a shit about gay people.
Yeah, and also how the world at large just sort of doesn't really care until something is too late.
Yes.
Is the monkeypox outbreak, really. Yes. I know that we haven't had a huge number of it happen, especially in the UK. One of my friends was like one of the first people in the country to have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when he was going to the doctors, they were like, we don't know what this is. We just don't, like, you've got folliculitis by the look of it. And it was like, that's not folliculitis.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, he was treated for it once they actually knew that monkeypox had an outbreak by that point. But it's the same thing again of like, we're reacting too late. They're like, it's not a thing. We're not thinking about it. Like, it's just a thing.
I think it's the same as what happened in the 80s with the AIDS crisis.
100.
It's because it was affecting a lot more LGBT people and the government, everything just didn't care.
Just didn't care.
Because they were like, well, it's not affecting the normal people, so we won't make a fuss about it.
I'm not particularly fussed about getting the vaccine. Maybe I will if it becomes available. But I've known people who are actively trying to go and get the monkeypox vaccine, and it's impossible to get.
It's been a nightmare. Like, Callum was trying to get it for a long time. But yeah, it was just like, no, we don't have it.
We're in the biggest city in the UK, and you can't get them.
Yeah.
So, like, if someone was in, like, I don't know, Merseyside and wanted to get one, never. They probably don't even know that a vaccine for it exists.
Yeah. And you would have thought as well, because of what happened with Miss Rona, that they would have been a little bit more kind of like, we're going to jump on this instantly.
Yeah.
And make sure that we eradicate.
I think, again, it honestly is one of those things that because the Tories are running this country, they're like, well, why don't you just go and buy a new kettle out of monkeypox? Like, it's that kind of, we don't even think about the issue because it's not even on the horizon.
No. But yeah, the thing is, I just didn't feel like people were speaking about it as much either. Like, it was like no media coverage, no anything, and it was just like
all of the coverage that I got from it was literally from like gay Twitter, gay Reddit, of just like reading through people's stories with it, living with it, and then also basically people trying to raise awareness to go and get the vaccine, and then there was no vaccines available. I don't think I saw once anywhere like an advert or a government thing being like, beware of monkeypox. Yeah. Like, just full stop. Like, be careful.
It was only like...
There was no statements or anything.
It was in like hospital things or A&E or like walk-in centres that had like posters saying like, don't come in if you've got symptoms of it.
Because it just goes to show that the government don't care.
But yeah, again, I wholeheartedly believe it's because it was mostly affecting LGBT people. They just didn't care. They were like, oh, well, if 3 of them go, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah. But another concept of completely bizarre and strange that happened this year that we also saw in a short term, the rise and fall of is NFTs.
What the hell was that all about?
Non-fungible tokens. It was like buying a receipt for a piece of artwork and trying to trade the receipt for money.
It was
ensuring the money, the receipt was worth something. I still don't quite get.
I don't understand cryptocurrencies and crypto things. Like, people have tried to explain to me about the blockchain and all this computer, but I don't. It's like you're talking a completely different language. I don't fully understand it, but I knew from the beginning when people talked about NFTs that it was going to be some fad that just happened and disappeared, and it was a scam because nothing that. When it comes to things like Bitcoin, and people made like different coins and things, but like. When it came to like that kind of happened, but like you knew Bitcoin was the one.
Yeah.
NFTs as itself was like a brand new thing. So suddenly, anyone and everyone was suddenly making NFTs.
Yeah.
And it was like, how can these be valuable when like suddenly there is
a trend.
Millions and millions of random photos that we talking about Jessica Alves.
Well, making her.
I'm gonna make 100 NFTs. No one knows who you are, and you took it off your Instagram because. No one bought them because
they didn't sell your NFTs. Why is Jessica Alves selling NFTs?
It doesn't make any sense.
That is the weirdest crossover. Like, what does Jessica Alves even do? Nothing.
Nothing.
But also, why do you have NFTs? No reason.
Exactly. But the thing is, even like Donald Trump recently, only like a couple months ago, was like, I'm making my own NFTs because they all went on like Truth Social, his that weird social media that he's made for his that far right people, and he's gone like, oh, you should buy these NFTs of me, and he's like. Took photos of like Getty Images and Shutterstock and like had artists superimpose his like face on them and be like, buy these really rare NFTs and you can collect the cards. It's just like bonkers.
I still don't get it.
And even made so many right-wing people being like, he's now lost the plot.
Well, good. Because everyone else could see it when he first started going in. Bonkers.
It was insane.
I'd like to think that I'm quite up to date with technology. I feel like when we sit down and talk about technology, like I've taught you a thing or two about computers and the digital world.
And it's devil laughs.
When it comes to something like NFT, I find myself still asking questions after someone has explained something to me. I'm still like, Yes, but what about this bit?
I can copy and paste that image.
Yeah, it doesn't make...
I don't get...
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the point of people spending hundreds of thousands
of
pounds
lost millions
on
of pounds. Millions. Because all of a sudden the market's crashed.
It's one of these things where it's almost like snake oil salesman again. It's like they think that they're selling something, and because people have a belief in that person or the idea of wanting to be so far at the forefront of technology that they seem to suspend any sort of like scam, like little red flag nonsense that's going off in their brain, that they'll then invest and be like, well, obviously everyone's talking about NFTs, so they must be a real thing. I'll buy an NFT. And then everything collapses and they're like, well, nothing. This is why I'm still really strange about the idea of just buying a purely digital object or item for a lot of money, because it's always on a store that could take it away. So you never truly own your item anyway. If your computer died or all of the computers suddenly died, you'd never own an NFT.
Well, think of it a little bit like, and it's a bit of a weird comparison, but when Flappy Bird came out, and because of copyright issues, people thought it was copyright issues. It was actually because the founder couldn't deal with the popularity that happened. It got taken off the App Store. Yeah. And people went bonkers where they were selling mobile phones
for
that had thousands because they had Flappy Bird installed of it. So say you have something, a game that you really love. I'm saying game just because that's how more relatable to be. Yeah. And then it gets taken to the App Store and you can't play it anymore. Even though you already paid £20 for the app or whatever, you can't do anything. It's gone. Forever. Gone.
Whatever. You have no point of recourse because you have already signed away your whatever that is in the terms and conditions to even have the shop front there.
But also,
this is the same with NFTs.
It's almost glorified gambling because you're buying these things in hopes that in the future they'll be worth more money.
Well, it's been sold as like clever investment. It's been sold as the idea of like, well, this Birkin bag from the 90s will be worth £40,000 in 4 years' time. But it's like, it's the same thing with the Beanie Babies. Do you remember when Beanie Babies were crashed? So like people in divorce courts were dividing up the Beanie Babies because of how expensive and like how much money they were worth. Have you ever heard anyone now going wild over a Beanie Baby?
No, not at all.
What's the price of Beanie Babies? No idea.
This is the thing. It's like one of those sensible things where like, yes, into a certain extent, for a while, NFTs were rising, and it was a lucrative thing for a small
It's because
time.
a lot of people believed in it, and then it only took a few people to go, this isn't worth any money.
Yeah, and it's just like crash. So essentially, I'm surprised it didn't get shut down early because of the whole pump and dump scandals that were happening on... Do you know what pump and dump is?
Yes.
So a lot of the pump and dump scandals that were happening with YouTubers like Logan Paul and Jake Paul, who were like promoting these like fake...
They're called shitcoins.
Yeah, shitcoins. So they were like promoting all these like stupid fake, basically like Bitcoin, but their own version.
Cryptocurrency.
So there was like, one was called like Dink Coin or Dink Doink Coin or something. And like what they were doing was these YouTubers and these promotions were going like, you have to buy this, it's raising. So loads of people then fund this coin, were buying all these coins, which would then inflate the price. And then people like Logan Paul and like all these other YouTubers who were doing it were like, they would like sell all their coins. So then they would suddenly get all the money basically that all the smaller people have given them.
It's a digital pyramid scheme.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden when everyone sells them all, the price of them and everything drops because it's like, well, it's worthless because no one wants it anymore. But I'm surprised the amount of times that this happened, that when the NFT fad came around, no one was like, this is literally a pump and dump, but it's just with pictures.
Well, there's also that phrase, isn't there? There's one born every minute.
Yeah.
Which goes down to the phrase of like, someone will always fall for a scam.
Yeah.
There will always be like, just because 10 people don't, it only takes one person to do so. It's the same thing as those, you know, when you get your email address sold in like a database or something, and then you get like, I'm a Nigerian princess and I need 48 million pounds. I just need your bank accounts. Like if they send out 14 million of those emails a day, they're probably going to get a couple of responses.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
And then that's all it takes is that one. And I feel like this is very much the same concept with the pump and dump and also YouTubers trying to like scam people out of their money.
Yeah.
Because not only are they, because it's different when you're like, buy my merch. But if you're selling it as the idea of like, well, we'll all make money together, it's a lot more lucrative and exciting for people.
Yes, 100%.
Again, it's temporarily embarrassed millionaires. They're like, well, if I follow blah and I follow their blah, I can be just like blah. And it's like, actually, in capitalism, that's quite rare.
Yeah.
A lot of it is luck.
The problem is, what we haven't spoke about as well, is how horrific things like NFTs are to the environment.
So I genuinely don't get 100% of like how it's terrible.
So the way that they hold all this information is they have to use
data centers.
Tons of data centers and like these basically like these computers which is a lot of the reason why like a lot of
GPUs
GPUs
cannot get them
out of stock all the time, and like all the new graphics cards are out of stock because they were using them to data mine. But basically, to host all of the blockchain and to host where these NFTs are being stored and everything, they basically needed like an obscene amount of energy to power all of these like computers and graphics cards and everything, that the consumption of energy, some of these like data mines were taking up more energy than like entire cities just for this one thing. So there was a lot of backlash for people because it was like, you're actively going to destroy the planet by using things like NFTs. So like Pangina Hills, for example, after she came out of UK versus the world, she tweeted, "I'm making NFTs," and she was destroyed. And then she was like, due to more information that's come out, I'm not doing it now. I didn't realize, blah, blah, blah. And like this happened many times, like over the course of the year, of people saying, we're going to make NFTs. And all of a sudden it was like, no, you are now destroying the planet. So like, which is why a lot of YouTube stuff got backlash when Susan was like, we're going to make NFTs. Like,
why is YouTube trying to make NFTs? Like, you make enough money, sis.
Yeah, weird.
Why are you moving into NFTs? For your business model, why are you making NFTs?
Yeah.
Stick to what you're doing and do it well.
It really doesn't make any sense.
It's the same thing that goes towards this idea of everyone's trying to be TikTok.
Yeah.
Stop. Let TikTok be TikTok, and you do what you do really well.
That's what we should mention about this year. It's like there has been this huge thing from the start of the year to now. Like it kind of happened a few years, like it started to go there with like them doing like stories and all this shit. But this year, there's been such a huge shift because I think Shorts started this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, Shorts started this year.
So now YouTube have like YouTube
Reels
Shorts.
started this year.
Was it Reels started this year as well? So basically, like every platform now has decided that instead of sticking to what they know and like actually actively making their company the best in what they currently do, they've gone, we all want to be TikTok.
Yeah, we want one app for everything.
And everything.
Like, well, you are going to fail if you try to do that.
The thing is, I understand from like tycoon people being like, I want all the money, and they're like, well, we want to do this. But it's like they don't think about the fact that the majority of people who do social media as a job don't want to put all of their eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Because that is a terrible thing to do. Imagine if Twitter just suddenly dies, and that was my one source of income because I've decided that I wanted to put everything in there. How?
It's ridiculous.
How?
Absolutely
like
ridiculous.
Elon, there was a thing about Elon trying to pay YouTubers to be like, can you make long form content on our platform instead? It's like, but
who's going to come to Twitter and do that?
But how is Twitter going to have the bandwidth, the hosting to be able to do like 20, 30 minute videos? Like, what are you doing? So, but this year, like, you have been punished a lot on algorithms and everything if you didn't start making Instagram Shorts. Or Instagram Reels, sorry.
I mean, they're all the same thing. Instagram Short, TikToks.
It's
the irony, of course, is that TikTok is not a social media platform. It's not about interaction. It's not about building a community. It's about watching.
Yes.
It's about creating something to be watched that's short form and that can be spread everywhere very quickly.
Yes.
It's almost like the art of going viral.
Yeah.
Whereas something like YouTube is based around the idea of community through comments, through making reaction videos, through making like actual community-based content. So it is kind of a little bit confusing as to why YouTube is desperately trying to get into the Shorts thing, when actually they should be funneling more and more of their algorithm towards favoring things that last that little bit longer. Because this year we've seen so many, like, not even just this year, since 2020, basically, the amount of documentaries that people make for YouTube, and for YouTube specifically. And it's become the most fascinating thing to watch. An example I can think off the top of my head of a channel that I really like watching is ContraPoints. Because everything she makes is literally like a video essay documentary.
1 to 2 hour long, like,
it's literally
full-on
like
productions.
You could not get that information in a TikTok or
you
in
couldn't.
An Instagram reel of 15 seconds.
And like that, like YouTube has not got the infrastructure in like the computer to
because
like they've
built infrastructure for long form content.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like if you want to do it, make a different app for it. Make a YouTube Shorts app.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've like tried to integrate it into normal YouTube
life,
it's like it doesn't make sense, and I don't understand how even the Shorts work. Like where do they
go? How do they get promoted to people?
Yeah, like
it's kind of sad because I really love YouTube as a platform.
I do as well.
And I do feel like when the TikTok fad dies, they're going to be left with the Shorts concept and be like, well, we'll just like Instagram with IGTV. It's going to fall down the same route of why did you try and do something like that when you should have just focused on what worked for you. I like Instagram Reels, not gonna lie. I do like them and I will spend some time watching them, but I don't go to Instagram for the Reels.
But the thing is, although I prefer normal posting, like photos and things, Instagram Reels makes so much more sense on Instagram than it does on YouTube. It makes way more sense because of the way that Instagram looks and feels, and it's a phone app. Like, it's not a computer app. Yes, you can do things now on the computer that you couldn't before, but it is a phone app. I just don't get how YouTube fits into that. And I get that a lot of people use YouTube on their phone, but do you watch documentaries on your phone? Like,
not really. I would much rather put something on my screen. If it's like a 25-minute video, I'd much rather play it on a screen that I can actively enjoy watching something on.
And like YouTube favors these long form content, but now they're like, you have to do reels as well. And you have to do shorts as well. So
I see, but it's a bad business model, I think. And I don't think it's going to be, like, in 10 years' time, we're not going to be talking about, oh my God, YouTube Shorts, it's the most best thing ever. Like, Shorts, have you seen that Shorts? Yeah. I just don't see that happening. And I will quite happily eat my own poissoirs if that's the case. But there's already an app that does it better, and that's TikTok.
These companies get so obsessed with becoming number one that they
lose
just
sight
almost
of
like
what they're
destroy
doing.
themselves because they make themselves become like a joke. And I just don't get it. Like, Instagram was already starting to punish you if you didn't post videos. It was like, no, we've decided now that this is how you get it promoted. So if you don't put shorts, if you don't put reels, you're not going to get pushed out. And then there was so much backlash that
they even decided to sort of slightly change that. Although still, I'm a bit like, did you just lie about changing it?
I still get promoted reels all the time. Like, it's not like photos compared to what they used to get. Like, the likes on people's things are still dropped astronomically. And the thing is as well as, like, when they tried to make IGTV, people don't know what IGTV was. It was very short.
Instagram
television, where they tried to basically make it like YouTube. They were like, and they paid loads of YouTubers to come on and make like long form content on Instagram, and like it just was a catastrophic fail. And they had to
work.
It didn't work. The app doesn't work for long form content because of the way that it is, and it just failed. And they got rid of that. And then they're like, well, we're going to do reels instead, which makes more sense. But also, you've then pissed off so much of your demographic because we didn't come to Instagram for that reason. Yeah. So then
no one has gone to Instagram to watch IGTV.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if it's just because the idea of business is infinite growth. It's not to actually create something that's decent and worthwhile and can actually withstand the test of time. But like, YouTube has already done that. YouTube is already withstanding the test of time. What they're doing is working, and it still is working. They're a huge profitable arm of Google. Yeah. And it seems strange that they've tried to funnel so much time and effort and money into something that is like, I've used shorts occasionally, and they've just it's just like, so it's not like, wow, my goodness me, this short is doing really well for my channel. I'm actually a bit like, I would rather funnel. I'm one person working on my own channel. I would, instead of you suddenly being like, well, we see that you're doing all this really long format content. We love what you're doing. We also want you to also now have to do twice the amount of work because we need you to do other things as well. It's like, why have you done that?
It's only been recently as well that they've separated shorts and videos being compared in your analytics. So when I first started doing shorts, I did one like about a year ago, and it like everything was like down. Like, it doesn't have as much watch time. It doesn't have as much viewer attention. Doesn't have as much.
And it's like, well, of course, because that's a short form content.
Because they're not videos. You can't compare them. And then all my analytics went all like weird, and my like averages went all weird because I posted one short.
Say things like, oh, but if like that will not have an effect on where you're placed on the algorithm.
But it does.
It will.
Does.
I hate the way like every person I've ever spoken to at YouTube is like, no, we don't punish you for taking a week off. Yes, they do.
You do.
The algorithm says you haven't posted, no one wants to watch you.
Yeah, we want to favor people who post all the time.
And keep people on our content.
Yes.
We want no links anywhere in your description or in your comments, because that will pull people away from the platform. And I feel like sometimes, because the people that are working at these companies aren't users of their own platform.
No.
Like, they're not professional users of their own platform.
Well, there was a big thing about, I remember when I first started having meetings there when I moved to London, they were told that they weren't actually allowed to really do YouTube if they were like working for YouTube.
That to me is wild, because it's like, I mean, obviously, because then it's like knowing the numbers of the lottery.
Yes.
I know, like being able to see behind the magic is a problem.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. But it is also like, well, you need to be able to understand what you're telling me to do.
Yes.
Because if I know more than you and you're the mentor, then there's you can't. There's this wonderful phrase in the gym that's, if you're the biggest guy in the gym, you're not growing.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm the biggest guy in the gym. Birthday. And it's like, no, you need to go to a place where you're actually like the smallest or the most unknown, or like big fish, small pond syndrome.
Yes. So I want to talk about something a little bit positive.
Is it the Heidi Klum worm?
No, it is not Heidi Klum worm. I want to talk about, now, sorry for the American audiences, but Eurovision.
Oh, yes.
So If anyone is a Eurovision fan, so people who don't know what Eurovision is in America, although I feel like they've even had their own Eurovision, so I think at this point
they all Ariana Grande,
and it was all Ariana Grande. Eurovision is basically a load of countries who are part of the EBU around Europe and some like outside of Europe. There's like Australia's part of it as well, and there's a few like Azerbaijan's part of it as well. Like there are a few countries that aren't in Europe. Everyone thinks Eurovision is about being in Europe, and it's like no, it's if you're part of the EBU, which is the European Broadcasting Union. So it's very different. But anyway. So basically, every country selects one person or like a group of people, like a group
to die
to make a song. Each country has their own like selection process, and they send them to like a competition, and like all the Europe votes around what song is the best in Europe. There are some politics involved in it, but most of the time, I feel like it tends to be fair.
Yeah.
Although I will say that people already knew kind of going in that Ukraine were probably going to win because of a certain situation. Mm-hmm. The bookies had already put them at like
top place.
Yeah. So I don't think it was that much of a shock when they won. But one of the biggest like surprises was the fact that United Kingdom came second place.
Yeah, wild.
We have the UK have definitely been
a bit of a joke.
A bit of a joke for so long in Eurovision, and then but the problem is the British public are like, no one votes for us because of Brexit. No one votes for us because they hate us.
But isn't that just so British?
It is a very
British.
So
British to be like, it's not my fault. Yes. It's you who's wrong.
Even though, like, so many of the songs that we've sent in the past 10 years have just been total rubbish. And they don't listen. They're like, no, everyone else is the problem, not
it is
us.
The children who are at fault.
And so we've not come a good place since, I think it was like the even like early 2000. I think it was 2002.
I couldn't even tell you who it was.
I think it was 2002, and it was a woman who sung "Come Back." I can't remember what her name is.
Betty Spaghetti.
But I think that was like in the top 10. And then I think Jade Ewan in 2009, she was in like, I think she came like 9th or something. Jade Goody. But since then, we've always come like 25th.
Yeah.
Or like 20, for like years and years and years. But like we sent one song in, and to be honest, I didn't really like it. It's from Sam Ryder. It's called Spaceman. I wasn't really a fan of it.
I could see the appeal.
Yeah.
I think it was actually like quite like, because I think also this time because TikTok was such a big thing. It kind of like TikTok has really changed the way that people experience music.
And because he was huge on TikTok before going into this, and weirdly, like we won the jury vote, and we were like fourth in like fourth or fifth in the public vote. So those two combined became second place, and it was just like total insanity. Like we were like screaming at the TV, like here screaming at top of our lungs, going, "Oh my god, like, what's happening?" But of course, because all the stuff that was happening in Ukraine, we're now hosting it next year.
Yeah, that's true.
We're
gonna go and try and see summer.
We have our hotel booked for Liverpool. We're so excited to be able to like. I've never been to Liverpool either. So
Gales, dripping.
So us and Novimpia, we're gonna try and get into at least one of the shows. Like we know it's gonna be really hard to get hold of tickets. So whenever they go on sale, we're gonna get them. But I'm so excited that I'm actually gonna be able to experience like a Eurovision like in the UK.
When was the last time it was here?
Did we host it for Israel? I feel like we hosted it in like 1999.
Yeah.
Because Israel wasn't going to host it. I think that may...
So that's what, like...
Or maybe they hosted... I don't know.
23 years ago,
but we hope... I remember Eureka Johnson hosted it.
Eureka Girls!
Yeah, it's been like 20 years or whatever since we've actually had it here. So it's very exciting. And because like when Eurovision was like first out and like in the early days, we won all the time. Yeah. So it's like a sad thing to be like... We then just suddenly became like the worst country involved.
It's one of these things, again, it's this idea of like British exceptionalism, but it's like you actually are just a bit shit.
Yeah, so
just a bit shit.
Either way, very, very excited for...
I'm always up for a little bit of an adventure as well. So I've never been to Liverpool. I've also never, like, until, 2 years ago? I can't remember what was the first Eurovision event I went to of yours. Was it 2 years ago?
It was like 2 years ago you came to.
So I'm not like a huge Eurovision fan, but I can definitely see like the buzz around it, and it's quite a like nice little social gathering as well.
It's the Gay Olympics.
It is. Well, isn't that Drag Race?
Don't you
There's
dare.
several. One's the winter and one's
just
the
because
summer.
RuPaul says, "Oh, it's the Olympics of drag."
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I've been told.
Yeah, you have been. But I'm very, very excited about Eurovision next year.
Yes.
Nova and Olympia are both insane Eurovision fans as well.
I hope we do get to see a really good show though.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get, because like the tickets can be really hard to get hold of. So we're gonna try and go for like each of the shows and like see what one we just happen to get tickets for. We're just praying to the gods that we get it. I'll be so upset if I don't manage to get them. One thing that we should probably mention that went off nearer the start of the year
was the hottest summer ever.
was Chris Rock and Will Smith, when Will Smith went up and what was the award?
Keep your wife's name out your mouth.
I'm not going to swear. But then he slapped Chris Rock over the face because Chris Rock made a joke of
alopecia. And do you know what the tea is? Apparently she's had a full brow lift, and that's what those scars are, where she has no hair growing there.
Oh.
Isn't that shocking? She's not come out publicly and said it, but there was a doctor that looked at the scars on her hairline and were like, that's a full brow lift, sis. And I was like, a brow lift, girls! Doctors do brow lift!
But when that happened in the start of the year, it was such an odd thing to witness of like we're used to seeing
You never see stuff like that happen,
No! Like you normally do see things of
you see like disagreements or people getting too drunk or something
yes, or
at
something.
These award shows.
But like the idea that you would just like
stand... Well, Norman Lamont is probably the one that moment is the last one
Julian
that I can
Clary,
really think of that comes to
but the fact
my
that
mind.
he like, I understand if you don't want someone joking or whatever, but like to just like stand up in the middle of the award ceremony and just go and like assault someone on stage and think that like it was going to end well, like regardless of what line you stand on, that was not right.
That's not even like you imagine if someone did that at a bus stop, you wouldn't have the same response either. So the idea that you're actually now like in front of millions of people watching it around the world and you've just sort of like basically committed quite a crime. Yeah. It's like you couldn't even be like, well, she hurt my feelings. It was self-defense.
It was so, no. and his defense was, I did it because I loved her, and it was like. That is an interesting sentence to say because I've heard that used in many different contexts.
Yeah, like, exactly. I burnt the rose.
Yeah, exactly. It was,
and she even came out afterwards to be like, I didn't want him to do that. Why did you do that?
But she had like an affair with like that man. That whole relationship was a bit messy. But the pandemonium that happened afterwards, and him being like pandemonium.
Yes.
And him being like, it was the Oscars, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he was banned from the Oscars for
10 years. Just. That was a moment that shocked
That was
everyone.
A culture moment. That was a real like
fully like memes come out about it. Yeah. Like it really was just like, and I've seen so many different like animations now have been made of it taking the piss. South Park. I don't watch South Park. South Park's probably made a joke about
100%,
it.
100% they have.
But that was bonkers.
I'd love to put on my little conspiracy theory hat now because I've read something. I think it was on Reddit, and you know how everything said on Reddit must be true. Is that they're a family of Scientologists, and because she ranks higher than him in the Church of Scientology, if he didn't stand up and defend her honor when she was attacked like this in a public place as a celebrity, there would have been like some punishment behind the scenes.
Really?
I don't know what it could have been, but yeah, there's some like weirdness. I don't quite know. I don't put any like validity in it, but it's interesting to think about. Like, because why would you react in such an overt way unless there was someone being like, we might take away your access to the afterlife with Planet Xenu, girls.
Yeah.
It's really weird, really unusual behavior.
Well, I watched that Leah Remini documentaries this year when she was like escaping. Was that, I can't remember what it was called, like after something, when basically she was talking to people who have like left Scientology. Even if like a minute part of what everything was said in there was like 100% factual, it's still disgusting.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And the whole Scientology thing, like I don't want to get too much into it because it's not necessarily about what happened this year, but that what you just said then, I 100% would believe it because it
seems like credible in like a way that whenever we hear something about Scientology, I'm no longer shocked. I'm just kind of like, that's Scientology.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I'm like, okay, what else? What's next? What's happening now?
It's balmy, and I have no idea how to even.
I wonder how many like just like casual day-to-day Scientology people there are.
I don't know.
Like, I don't think I've ever met like someone who's like, I'm a Scientologist. Who's just like a regular shop worker or something.
Almost like keep it to themselves a bit like Freemasons, all that sort of like Illuminati shit. Like,
but I also feel like Freemasons and Illuminati people are usually like quite well off and high up people in certain establishments. I don't know. I've just never heard
Scientology
of like,
I feel like Scientology is one of those ones where they prey on the poor people to then booster up the people.
Well, they hang outside of like really popular places and do personality tests, don't they? We had one in Brighton, and they were like, come and do one, and I was like, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
It's like, no, I don't need a personality test. I know I'm completely deranged.
Yeah. Oh my God, though, one thing we have to touch on is the insanity of Kanye West. What the?
Did you hear? Apparently, he's gone missing, and no one can get in contact with him.
Is he dead in the water?
Oh,
is he him and Britney both dead in the water?
Yeah.
Obviously
they're releasing an album.
Yeah, we are. You
and Kanye.
We obviously have to be very careful what we say because we
because there's huge problems here.
obviously Kanye West, I mean, he was banned off Twitter like a year, it must have been like a while ago now.
And then Elon brought him back.
And then Elon was like, I'm going to come back and bring back all the controversial people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, would you let's come back to Twitter? And he's like, no.
Yeah,
and
he was
then
no.
Elon got like, Elon reinstated Kanye for like a day, and then he got like banned again because he was being anti-Semitic. But I mean, there's always been rumors about him being anti-Semitic, but then that interview that he did on...
Oh, it was shocking,
on, what's he called again? Alex Jones' podcast.
And the idea that Alex Jones had to sit next to him and be like, well, hang on, let's try and rein this back a bit. It was weird to see that dynamic.
Someone who, like the man who was sued for billions of dollars because he said that the Columbine massacre didn't happen, he is saying to you, oh, it's a bit much.
That's a bit much.
You know, you have really crossed the line when people like that are telling you.
And I know the fact that people are going to say things like, well, he's got mental health issues.
It's not an excuse. Not an excuse.
It really, like, when you're that level, it's not an excuse.
Especially when you have...
We've both got something.
Yes.
We're both neurodivergent of some description. We're not going online and being like advocating for the death of a group of people.
The thing is as well, exactly, especially when you have a huge platform like he does, it's like you can't blame mental health or whatever as like an excuse. Like you're still influencing millions and millions of people who agree with you. We've already seen that. The fact that there was, I can't remember whose video it was, and it was very interesting. I won't say the whole thing, but basically it was like, he has been embraced quite a lot by the far right, even though most of them are like, so many of them are like racist because he can be like the one that almost makes the rest of them look crazy or like the same way that like Ollie London, for example, has gone so far right now. Blair White, like they love these people because it's like, these are the people that we can use as, well, we're not racist, we're not homophobic, we're not, anti-Semitic because we've got these people here who are part of it.
Who are part of that community.
And obviously some people are wired to the way that they want the attention, they love that. So people like Blair White or like the other people love it because like, oh, I'm the only one, I'm the popular one. Unfortunately though, these people then have influence over so many other people. You're advocating for hatred, you're fueling up a lot of these people, which is exactly why all that insurrection that happened
6th.
when Donald Trump was riling up his people on social media and like being very clever with what he was saying, but essentially he was telling you to riot. Like he was telling you to basically go and riot. Kanye West saying all this anti-Semitic stuff, he is riling up people to be anti-Semitic and more confident in being the same way that J.K. Rowling has done it. She has fueled the TERFs in the UK to suddenly now be outside screaming and shouting in people's faces, like
to be flashing their genitals in Parliament.
Exactly, because they fuel. So people like Kanye West, all these other people are doing that, and it's so awful that it's happening. But like this year really has almost like seen a rise in kind of like far right.
Well, it's been like a trend for a couple of years now, but I feel like we're sort of getting toward, when you like boil a pot of pasta and it's like bubbling, and then like it starts to get really, really quite frothy, and you're a bit like, oh no, this is out of control. We're kind of getting towards that feeling now, and I'm a little bit like, what on earth are we going to be saying at the end of next year after watching all of this madness that's unfolded this year?
And the thing is as well is like there was already people saying, loads of people have come out since all this stuff happened with him saying like he's also actually been quite anti-Semitic in his life for years. So he's only really, like, if you want to blame mental health, he hasn't been this sort of far gone down the path of...
No, it's just that maybe he's a bit more emboldened right now.
Yeah, and I think that kind of stuff... mental health, whatever, might bring out things that you already feel because now maybe your sensor or your filter that you normally would have in place has now gone because of it.
I also feel like this about a lot of like right-wing talking points is that people usually start with like one subject and then it just sort of like they go further and further.
Oh yeah, yes.
And it's a really strange, is it called a pipeline? I think it's called a pipeline, isn't it? Where they're like, I don't know, I saw an example on Twitter being like, turfism to right-wing pipeline or something, and it's like, well, it starts off as saying I don't really like trans people, then it goes to like trans people should die, and then it's protect the children from the groomers, and then it's like all LGBT people are groomed. It's like it's step by step.
Well, J.K. Rowling is a massive. You could use J.K. Rowling's timeline as the perfect example of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Because at the start it was literally just like I stand with Maya Fons. What was it,
Maya Forstater,
who just got fired because apparently she was like saying that biology is real when that wasn't the case. It was manipulated. But it started with that, and everyone was like. Well, no, didn't it? It started with the middle-aged moment, wasn't it? It was she liked to tweet from someone. It was like said something a bit problematic, and it started off with that, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, maybe give her a bit of an excuse. Maybe she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And then it slowly snowballed into, we're protecting women now. And now she just is just vehemently anti-LGBT. Like there's not even like she doesn't like gay people at all now. It's even so. This happens. They start with one and then it snowballs all of a sudden.
And it is actually legitimately worrying because this kind of rhetoric doesn't ever go away.
No.
Fully. And once it's like a rot, once it's taken hold, it's like you constantly have to be vigilant to try and like get rid of it because it will spread so fast.
Yeah. And I think there's so many people like Steven Crowder and what's the annoying one called?
Ben Shapiro,
like downplaying everything that he's saying and acting like, even though and Ben Shapiro is also a Jewish person himself, like really downplaying. But the realization is it's because they know full well that is a normal talking point in their circles.
Yeah.
And it's like
if they come out against that, they're kind of like destroying their own incomes.
You've now basically you've just said the quiet part loud.
Yeah.
And you've
gone full mask off.
Yeah, you've now shown people what they realize. Because even Steven Crowder in his podcast was like, is there a conversation to be had about the manipulation and control? Yes, of course there is. It's like you're basically agreeing with what he's saying, but you're
trying to be coy.
You're trying to coy about it, and it's like, well, the person who was with them on that podcast, that man, I've seen documentaries about that person, and he's like proper Nazi.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's weird because he wasn't saying anything most of the time. He was kind of just laughing and shit, and it's like it's balmy how almost emboldened people can get. Just from a tiny bit of
a tiny little bit of validation, like negative validation or negative reinforcement rather, should we say, because it's not validation, but that tiny little bit, and it really emboldens a huge swathe of society.
And again, we touched on him a little bit. Ollie London, I made a video about him. Same thing. I'm
gonna make a video on him.
If you don't know the story about Ollie London, I'm not gonna go. It's a really long story, but basically,
watch both of our videos.
Both of our videos. But now he's saying after coming out as a Korean woman or whatever, and then detransitioning to be a British man, he's now saying that he's found God and he's straight, and now he's trying to find a girlfriend. He's an alpha male, and it's just like.
Alpha male.
How is this happening? Male. But he's almost like following a little bit of Milo Yiannopoulos' footsteps.
Pipeline,
because that's exactly what he did. He started,
is he straight now?
He's now saying he's ex-gay and he's converted to Christianity or whatever, and now he's ex-gay. Yeah, and it's just like, what are you talking about? It's like it's this need for constant attention and validation where these people literally sell their existence and their soul for attention, and like. I find it strange now. People like Ollie London. Surely you don't have friends because
because how can you make so many different types of friends across loads of different political spectrums and then offend them all?
There is no way you could be friends with the people who think that you were trans, whatever, and you were like, I'm trans. No, you weren't trans. You just want attention. Yeah. But like the people who were trans, the people in that community who were your friends, can't still now be the same people because you've now gone on TV going, trans people are disgusting and we should protect children. I don't get how do you have anyone in your life?
Honestly, it's bewildering because where is Ollie London's story going to end?
Oh, like 6 months time there was something brand new.
To be honest, I bet it's even less than 6 months. The timeline used to be every 6 months something new would happen. Now it's like every 6 days.
Well, I feel like his obsession now was with Thailand. He's going to go find a nice Thailand woman to be married to. I know.
Okay. Do you know
that's
what?
His new thing
we're
now.
We're going to keep a spyglass on that.
We're going to, I need a nice Thai girlfriend to marry or something. It's just like...
That poor woman, whoever he meets.
All of these people who just crave attention and will just say whatever they want to get attention. It's like, you are actual scum.
Yeah,
like, because you're truly hurting so many people.
Yeah. There is going to be no place for you eventually because you've hurt so many people.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only rejection.
But like,
and loneliness
about the Kanye thing, we spoke about this when it all happened. It's like, I actually kind of refuse to believe that Kim Kardashian didn't know anything about this. You cannot be married. You cannot be with a man, have all these children with a man for that long and not know that he was like this. I just find it hard to believe that you were with him that long and he didn't say anything.
But even when they broke up, he went a bit like abusey online, didn't he, against her? So it's one of those things where it's like still like, I just don't know. It's for some reason anything that the Kardashians do, it feels like, when like a royal family marries another member of the royal family to like combine the dynasty or something. It feels like something like that happened, but like everyone in that situation has to be kept quiet for whoever is in power. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
the abuser can still stay in power in that dynamic. But it does seem far-fetched that she would not know of this before being involved with it.
Yeah. Even just before being involved, I think just because they were together for such a long time, I feel like in some part of that, he would have said or done something. Because I've had that loads of people who have worked with him said that he would normally say things about Hitler and just like all that stuff before. Oh my God! Balenciaga.
Oh yeah,
what
exactly.
The hell?
Yeah, what was that? What was that?
If people don't know what happened with Balenciaga, basically they did a campaign where these infants, like 5 or 6 years old, like young children, were holding like BDSM teddy bears and like adult themed things, and they posted to sell handbags. Wasn't it handbags?
I think it was handbags.
I think it was handbags. It was like teddy bear handbags or something.
But it goes further than that as well, because in the photo shoots there was like court cases, like
some of them
court case like information, like books related to children getting like mutilated by artists and stuff, and it was just like,
it was just what. And then
what are you doing?
The thing is, so many people would have had to approve that before it even got released. The idea that they would happily do that, I think everyone will love this. This will sell our nice teddy bears. Like, I don't understand. How did that happen?
Yeah, and especially in this kind of climate as well at the moment where everyone is already on edge just in general. It feels like everyone is looking for something to not have a problem with, but looking for issue where perhaps people hadn't have looked for issue before.
Yes.
It's like everyone who designed that collection, everyone who was involved in photographing it, styling it, blah, 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 is like, why didn't any of you think this isn't okay? This isn't right.
Yeah, really strange. But it was that one of the handbag that had it was like talking about pedophilia in like it was like the handbag, and underneath it was like
it was a document of like court case document about pedophilia, basically.
Why?
It's like why? Why was that there?
There was literally zero reason for that to be like nothing. But there was another one of like there was a shoot. I remember watching Reddit Glaire's video about it, and they had like a photo at the back, and it was like a certificate of like a mass murderer or like a paedophile or something. And it was like, why did you need that? Why was there a certificate of that in the background? Like, what was the like?
What's the point?
What's the point? Totally unhinged.
Scary. It's scary that a company that big and that powerful could do something like that, because it's like, is it indicative of like a much wider problem that now we're only seeing like a glimpse of?
Yeah, I mean all the stuff that happened with Jeffrey Epstein is a big, to me, indicator that pedophilia as well is so much more prevalent. And like the fact that, I mean, I'm glad that Ghislaine Maxwell eventually got convicted and stuff.
What,
and now
is she in prison now?
I think she's in prison. I think she was found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges against her about child trafficking and stuff. So she's actually in jail now.
Horrific, isn't it?
But like even the photographer man was getting hate, and he was like, I didn't do it. I had no control over this. But you could have seen what was going on and gone,
the thing is also is that like, unless, I'm not trying to excuse anyone's behavior here, but like if I was on that set and I saw that certificate, I wouldn't know the
I'm talking
importance of that
it was
certificate.
The photographer of
the bags.
Well,
there you go. Like, you should be like, this is I'm not absolutely
like the
not
fact
doing
that he was like, but I didn't do it. It had nothing to do with me. I just took the photos. But you still took the photos. Like you were still
complicit.
You were still complicit in that. Like you can't. There's a thing of like
active.
Like there is a thing of like saying like there's a poster in the background that you might not completely understand.
Yeah,
and someone just goes.
That's the angle that I was trying to go down.
And I understand that to a certain extent.
I don't necessarily know that.
But if there's literally children there holding BDSM teddy bears and they're like 5-year-olds, like with like more adult things around them, the fact that you still were like, I'm gonna take the photos, but I don't like you were sold out for money.
Yeah.
You were like, you saw the paycheck, and you were like, I'm now gonna lose my morals because I think it's okay to get money. Yeah. So I mean, I know this video has actually been kind of a bit heavy, actually. I think most of the stuff we talked about has actually been quite intense. So for the final thing for this video, I want to kind of talk about just us.
Yes.
And what we've done this year that has been very intense. Obviously, I started the year with no tattoos.
Yes.
And now like almost half my body is tattooed.
Yes, that's very true. That's a huge personal development.
But I mean, like crayons, you should only pick one color. Bonkers.
Gagged.
I can't believe how much tattoo work I've had in this year, but I'm very happy that I've managed to get stuff done like very quickly. Well, it's been like what, once
or twice a month so far, like the whole time.
I have been saving money for years to get this done because I wanted to get it done quickly. So like my whole body kind of aged relatively at the same time. I didn't want like my leg finished in like 4 years time and my arms already starting to look a little bit somewhat fade. Like I don't
used.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of wanted it to all be, but I'm very happy with my tattoo journey that I've had this year so far. And
I mean, mine kind of went on a bit of a pause this year. Well, actually, that's not true. I had lots of work done up until May, and then I had loads of surgery and was like, well, that's going on the back seat now because I don't want to have to be constantly healing from everything all the time.
Yes.
But I will be restarting very soon in the new year, I think. Probably February, I think.
Yeah. So so I was actually meant to finish my arm already, but unfortunately my tattoo artist was ill when I was meant to get my last.
Because everyone's got the mysterious new illness.
Yeah, basically everyone's kind of got like a new version of COVID, but it's not actually, well, for we know it's not COVID, but it's like basically
it's a flu of some description.
Yeah. But everyone I knew has had it. But both of my tattoo artists, I'm going to have appointments in December. Both of them got ill with the same thing. I'm finishing my arm off in January, which is really exciting. And I'm moving straight onto my left arm. I'm not telling what people it is yet. It's still a secret.
I know and you don't know. I know something you don't know.
Yeah. But I'm having my leg done as well. So I'm having my Mortal Kombat leg, my right leg, which has been fun. I've been posting a few shorts of that. That's my shorts content on YouTube. And I'm moving straight onto my left leg afterwards. Again, I've not told people what my left leg's going to be because I can hide it, so it can be a secret until it happens. I mean, people ask me all the time, it's like, why I've not got any more piercings? It's like, well, my energy now has been kind of pushed onto tattoos because I want to.
What else would you get pierced though?
That's the thing. Like I feel like I've done piercings.
Yeah, I don't think you have anything that you're like, I simply must.
No, I mean, I'd love my eyebrow again, but it's just not worth the hassle because it's always been like frustrating. But like, I'm happy with my piercing journey. And
your
like,
eyebrow has always been like
exactly.
Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this to me? But like, even I feel like so much has happened with YouTube this year. It's been a very strange shift. I've been really focusing on trying to diversify my channel a little bit more than what I have done in previous years, I think. Yeah. Because I think it's important, like, when you do this year coming, it's going to be my 5th year doing it full time. So I feel like I've been trying to push other content a little bit more, like with the tattoo fail videos. And also, even the podcast, we're doing this a little bit more often now, which is nice. You know, we're doing a lot more collabs. So I'm glad that that's kind of been going on.
Yes, very much so. So for me, in terms of YouTube content, actually, I feel like this year I over-diversified a little bit.
Oh, did you?
Next year, I'm going to sort of like try and hone it down a little bit and keep myself a bit more on track because obviously it's a fully self-produced show, so to speak. But I end up spending so much of my time editing that I'm actually like, I would like to spend my time actually enjoying life and not working up until like 11 or 12 midnight, like constantly. So I'm going to try and not change my content, but just sort of like streamline it a bit so it's a bit more organized in a way that's enjoyable to everyone.
Yeah, I think
including me, because it's all about my enjoyment.
Because like you had, obviously this year you had your FFS, you got your boobs done. Like,
I had to actually take quite a lot of time off YouTube this year as well, so I kind of panicked myself. But you've panicked yourself. I kind of panicked myself a little bit with being like, well, I've got all this time, also I have to work so hard to make sure that everyone doesn't leave because YouTube's going to punish my channel.
I do feel like this year as well for me, I've definitely gotten myself back into good shape after COVID, because I had
my shape this year.
I had a lot of like COVID hangover. Like I put on a lot of weight during COVID. Like a lot of people.
Like everyone did.
Yeah,
didn't they?
And I've finally kind of this year I really kicked my ass into gear to get back into the gym and do like my normal stuff.
Routine.
In the gay community, it's a bit like cutthroat when it comes.
Oh, it's very
cutthroat. Your appearance is like disgusting.
Yeah,
so
100%.
That's been fun. But we had a few little fun trips this year.
Yes, we
went
did.
to a few events. We did a few little trips around the UK.
Yes, we went and saw Olympia in Bournemouth and
a few times. Yeah, that was fun.
What did we film? We filmed
Countdown.
That was lots of fun.
That was good. And of course, we went to Spain for 2 weeks together.
Oh yes, of course. I totally forgot about that.
Well, that was fun. Hot. I think that was the hottest thing I've ever been in my life.
It was really warm.
It was very warm.
It was enjoyable. I really liked Spain. I would more than happily go back to Marbella at some point in the future.
Yeah,
I might do some work with facial Tim again.
Why not? Yeah, get more. Maybe. Get FFS again.
Get FFS again. No, thank you.
Sorry, my nose job faded. I need another one.
Faded? Like dissolved, like filler.
Yeah, dissolved.
Yeah.
It dissolved like filler.
Yeah, so now I need another one. No. I mean, I have a new relationship this year, which is really important. I fell in love. Can you believe it? Thank you. Yes. Fell in love. So that's been like a huge thing to navigate, is actually having legitimate feelings for someone. It's like, how do I integrate a new person into my already hectically over-the-top life whilst I'm sitting in bed going, I'm really sad. Loads of things have happened in my life. I've got a video going out on my channel about more of like my intense like year that I've had. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD this year. That was a big thing. I've had lots of like medical things this year. This year's been my like my medical era. I've had surgery, girls, twice.
Yep.
Breasts, which I'm actually going to make a video on in January. I'm actually going to finish filming off that thing probably quite soon, actually. What day are we? Yeah. A couple of days' time, I'll finish like my little section for that video.
My little pony.
My little
pussy.
My little pussy. I keep thinking about having another hair transplant, though.
Yeah.
I do keep thinking about it. It's really playing on my mind with like dysphoria, because now I've had FFS. All of the features on my face are smaller, and it's made my forehead look a lot out of like shape compared to everything else. So I'm like, ugh. It's playing on my mind, girls.
Yeah.
But the idea of having like more surgery right now is just so off-putting. So I think what I might do is wait a little while and see how I feel.
I would say give yourself a break a little bit. So you have a bit of fun. I mean, you don't constantly downtime.
Realistically, I should have had it. I should have had the foresight to have it done with FFS all in one go.
Yeah. Can they do it as well?
Facial team
I
actually do one where they do like a hair transplant. It's called like a simultaneous hair transplant or something. I should have done that because I'd be perfectly healed by now.
Yeah.
But it's like it just didn't happen that way. And sometimes you just have to be like, well, I didn't think of that at the time. So in the future, something else will happen.
Yeah. But one thing as well, that's really exciting. That happened, in May? You moved beneath us.
I did. Yes, I moved to Swalier.
So
moving house was a very strange experience because it's completely by myself.
Yeah. And like, it's been so lovely to have my two... Let me finish what I was going to say. It's been so lovely to have...
To die.
To die. Die. But no, it's been nice to have like two of my closest friends now kind of here.
It's nice because we always do this thing called Will You Be Mummy?
Will You Be Mummy?
And ironically, that comes from a tweet in which someone was like, the English, when they pour a cup of coffee, say, will you be mother? And the person who is mother will pour the coffee. So now we have this hideous joke of going to Sainsbury's to get energy drinks. And we're like, do you want to be mummy?
Do you want to be mummy?
Should we go be mummy? And it means... This is like the most ridiculous inside joke ever, but it literally get a text around 11 a.m. being like, can we be mummy?
Yeah. And I have to say though, it's made it so much easier for us to film.
Oh, 100%.
Like, oh my gosh, because you lived about 2 hours away from me before, and
still in London, might I say.
Yeah, still
in London, but 2 hours away.
So it's been so nice to be able to like make the podcast a little more often, because before it was like maybe once or twice every 2 months. It was like really hard to get together, but that's been so nice to have you here. But also like the amount of stupid stuff that we do now. Do you want us to come up and watch like stupid ghost videos for an hour?
Well, exactly
like, it's
that.
nice
and we
to
play
have...
Fortnite together and have like little video game.
Yeah. And I think both of us next year are definitely going to go hard on Twitch and try to stick to more of a...
Yes, that is absolutely something I need to have happen next year. I haven't even really spoken about this properly, is that I pulled my schedule this year down to twice a week because I knew that I had to work extra to make my YouTube like function still throughout like recovery. And even then, like having surgery, it's just like, well, there's no way that I have the energy to actually be like live, because I don't know if people realize like doing YouTube and doing live streaming is very fundamentally different.
Oh, very
experience.
different.
It's
very
really different. And I think maybe like the average content watcher doesn't maybe understand the different like techniques and things that are needed, but like when we film, it's very much like you film, the energy that you've used for filming is like saved for a different day for editing. Whereas when you go live, it's like everything is happening now and you have to be really present and conscious of what you're saying, how you're interacting with people, making sure that you're being interesting, but also still able to game.
Yes, you're still trying to play the game as well.
Which is obviously leads to like funny, ridiculous situations because it's like playing a game distracted.
Yes,
so when people are like, why do you keep dying? It's like, it's because I'm talking to you, Margaret. That's why I'm actually talking to you.
Silly Margaret.
I'm dying now, girls. I don't know if I'm going to do a partner push. I really tried to do that a couple of years ago, and then they sort of were very vague about what actually being a partner you need to actually have.
Yeah,
so
I stopped trying. I was like, hence why I got rid of my schedule, because people ask me what days do I stream, and I'm like, I just stream when I want to because I find it easier and more enjoyable when I could just be like, because there's so many times as well, like during the daytime, I have a free moment and I'm like, I'm just kind of not really doing anything. I could be streaming now.
Yeah.
I could do something more exciting than instead of having to wait till my 7 o'clock schedule.
Yeah.
I could just go live now. I feel like next year I definitely want to just do it more often.
I quite like a schedule on Twitch because it's like it factors into my work day for me. I know that as soon as I like click like stop going on like close stream or whatever, I know that as soon as I click that, my work day is finished.
Yes.
At like 9 o'clock or whatever that is in the UK time, depending if I overrun or not. But yeah.
For me, I think like because my videos go up quite late, it's hard to like...
Yeah, yours go up later than mine.
Yeah, so I couldn't stream on the same day. But also for me, it's like I actively am trying to get almost like a more of a UK audience in Twitch anyway. So I quite like streaming during the daytime because it's a lot more English and European people are kind of on the platform then. Also just because I can stream for longer.
Yeah.
So I'm not staying up till like midnight streaming to try to get American audiences. So like sometimes I do evening streams, but I do actually prefer doing the daytime because I'm also more awake.
Yeah, see, I'm totally the opposite. So my ADHD kicks in at around about like 7 p.m. and I'm like wired until about 3 a.m. usually. It actually takes quite a lot of effort to like try and get myself to bed at a sensible time because my brain is like all the way throughout the day, my brain is overwhelmed by like daylight and distractions. And then as soon as nighttime happens, I'm like, right, time to work. I'm wide awake now, girls. Let's go be mummy.
Yeah, I'm going to be more of a top next year.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is that for real?
No.
No, you should be.
No, I don't like holes. Anyway. quickly, before we do go, thank you so much for all the love and support you've given us over the year. We're so glad that you enjoy these podcast episodes.
Personally, I hate you all.
Yeah, I mean, last time you were like, tell me who you are and I'll block you.
Yeah. I must stop being aggressive.
We started this podcast as an experiment a few years ago. And it's
failed.
It's failed completely.
Yeah.
No, it's been
We've burnt the lab down.
We've burnt the lab down. It's been a wonderful experience, and it's been such a fun thing for us to do because you really get a real insight into actually who we are as people.
Yeah, it's a completely different set. Again, it's a different set of content.
Yeah, and I think this is the truest form of kind of who we are in real life compared to our normal edited kind of shock.
Yeah, I would say this is on YouTube whereas like on Twitch, I think that's probably the realest I ever am because it's just my brain working without any filter.
And no filter, yeah. So she's had to press the off button instantly.
Yeah,
many racial slurs.
No, how dare you?
But thank you so much for all the love. You guys are incredible.
Thank you guys so much. I'm always in the
you.
Comments reading like what people are talking, what stories you're sharing, if anything that we say in the episodes is related to anything
or incredibly offensive, and you're like, that's offensive. You shouldn't
block.
say that. Block. Please hit the like button. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, we will see you very soon for another episode.
Happy New Year!
And let us know, by the way, quickly as well. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about.
Oh yeah, any topics
future.
or anything.
I think we should maybe try to do some more like current event-y things next year.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely, because it's very important to actually talk about things that are happening right now.
What's actually going
on? 1850s.
Yes. Anyway, we'll see you soon, guys.
Yes, au revoir.
Bye.